I'm gonna stop. Come on.
Who's opening?
Situation. You are? Go ahead.
Hey guys, we got Frank, Mike, Paul, and Ant here at the underground elevator room, and we're shooting the breeze at Bobby V's. Today's topic that we're going to cover today, that wasn't good for any of you guys.
I liked it. I liked it.
Today's topic that we're going to cover is how to handle young players and effectively communicating with parents as well. Found it awesome that Paul was able to be with us today. He's a school teacher, and they're off for
Yom Kippur,
which is why Verge is fasting today. So if there's a little bit of things going on, tension here.
I'm looking at him. You're just like, oh my God, don't do that move again.
So that's our topic for the day, and I want to kick it off with Paul, and he's a new member of the podcast today. So just kind of give a little background on you and your experience with early childhood education.
Cool. So just to introduce myself, my name is Paul. I'm a teacher in the Stanford public school system. Grew up in Stanford, and I've been coaching at Bobby V's for, like a year and a half, 2 years now. Working mostly with younger players who are elementary school or even preschool aged. I went to University of Connecticut. I have a degree in education. I also have a background in family development and
All good.
Human development and family studies. Cool. So something that I'd like to bring to my coaching is looking at players from different cognitive, athletic, different angles.
The holistic approach.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, it's kind of my responsibility here at BVSA to make sure that everybody comes to us, knows what they're doing in the cage as far as curriculum training. And Paul, I got to tell you, before we even jump into this whole situation, I think all you guys would agree. I mean, you've been probably one of the best. I mean, you came in here, and I had to teach you the baseball side of it, but the way you work your clinics and the structure of it, and the way you can relate to younger kids, I mean, we get so much positive feedback on you. It's really like a blessing for this whole place, and we've all seen it since day one.
From day one,
It's been really amazing.
And the way the kids pay attention to you, and the productivity of your clinics, and
even the props he uses.
Awesome.
I mean, how you keep the kids.
It starts like 15 minutes before.
I find myself engaged actually.
What's Paul doing over there?
But I want to do that.
But the way you work those and run them in, it's been a great thing to see.
Yeah.
And that's not easy, right? I mean, you do a lot with the younger kids.
It's definitely not easy, because you could teach these guys the baseball side, but they still got to be related. You know what I mean? That's a whole other side of teaching. We've talked about that, I think, multiple times already. But he's understanding that, how to relate it, but also how to keep these guys busy. I mean, dealing with 4 or 5, 5, 6, 7-year-olds isn't easy. I mean, we put a helper in there, but he understands that when it's time and how to structure it, how to use the props so everybody's doing things. I mean, you've really done a phenomenal job here, and we're extremely proud of you.
Thank you, appreciate it. So my own background in baseball, played baseball in Stanford, Babe Ruth. We
played together. That was 14, 15. So.
Yeah, we played together. Played a little junior legion. Played my high school.
And what age was this?
We were
14, 15.
Yeah, 14, 15, both years. We played for Coach Corbo.
Because we just had a meeting with another gentleman who said he knew you at that age. He said, you were not a good kid.
But when you were my teammate,
he's a great teammate.
When I'm your teammate, that's a different
He was a bad boy.
We gotta go back there. I really don't remember meeting him before that, so we gotta figure out what that whole story is about. But yeah, we played together for Coach Corbo back in the day. Schoner was on that team, Ferrell was on that team.
Corbo actually coached my dad too in Babe Ruth.
Oh wow, coached my uncle too. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun that year, and then your brother ended up coming on the team afterwards.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Jeff? No, Kyle. Kyle, and Jeff was behind him.
And both of them worked with you, actually, right?
Yeah, I ended up coaching Kyle of Stanford Legion that 1 year, and then Jeff came in to do some training a couple of years later. That's why I have Paul Orsino on my phone with like 5 different digits. I went to go call Paul the other day, and I called his dad. I'm like, wait, I have a text message exchange, but it doesn't tell you what the number is. And then I was going through the phone numbers. I had like Paul's house phone number, his dad's phone number, his dad's work number. I'm like, delete. It's good we got that going.
Yeah, so I compared to some of the other coaches in the building, I don't have the baseball experience or pedigree. I was cut my senior year at Stanford High, didn't play college ball, but always loved the game. And I think that my being a teacher and my passion for the game and understanding of the game helps me to be successful in coaching clinics.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to make a comment on that, if I may here, that's such a great statement to make for people to understand that so many people, when they perceive who's a good coach, it's somebody who played. And there's a lot of value. I mean, we did play. We think we're good coaches too, but that's not always the underlining value of what makes a guy a good coach. I mean, the way he handles the young kids, like we just mentioned, is unbelievable. You don't necessarily have to play at a high level to be able to teach kids how to play baseball and life's lessons around baseball. In a lesson, in a small clinic, or on a team. That's a real important point.
Definitely. What do you think are the most, like some of the similarities or differences in the classroom versus being in a BAP or on the field? And do you see any overlaps in the classroom? And
yeah, there are definitely a lot of overlaps. Just the first and most important thing in coaching and teaching, I think, is the relationship between the teacher or the coach and the player and the student. Kids are not going to learn from you. They're not going to pay attention unless they know that you're in it with them.
Yeah.
You guys are working together.
That's awesome.
Relationship building is an extremely important part of working with children. I mean, anyone, even when you come to work, like, you guys have to have relationships with who you're working with. Otherwise, it's going to be a rough go of it.
Exactly. So have they taught you any specific tips for that specifically of relationship building and how you those first couple interactions with kids?
I mean, it's not like, there's no science to it. It's just genuinely being invested with
That's Bobby's line.
in who you're talking.
They don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Exactly.
Yeah. You just, I mean, it's
Did you just
simple.
laugh at me? I stumbled on a word?
Yes.
You're in trouble.
Remember, he's fasting and a little grouchy. I'm glad you don't laugh.
You're in trouble.
So it could be.
It's more of an art.
Yeah. It's just picking up on little things, like, you see a kid who comes in with a Superman shirt. Oh, is that your favorite comic book hero?
Yeah.
That's mine too.
Well, I usually agree because I'm being legit. I really like the comic books.
Yeah. Yeah, so you always have to start.
No, we will one day. I have a whole idea about that.
And
My
you can't
sock.
bring it in. Now you gotta get in front of the camera. Look at Ant's socks, everybody.
That's Captain America right there. Yep.
Love
Yep, there you go. We'll have a whole sock series. That'll be next.
If Ant has a sock series, I will also be a part of that sock series.
Facts, but you have a sock matching hat series.
Yeah, you're a whole different
You're like a
level.
Super Saiyan. If
That's
I'm
a
like,
whole different
I'm Goku,
level.
you know? Yeah.
That's like a whole different level.
So it's just a bit more of an art thing, no specific tips. I know for me, like going back when we were doing the JCC and doing all the young guys, we had 18 kids in one gym and they were 4 and 5 years old. And I tried to make it my mission to learn everyone's name in the first couple minutes. Like, say it 100 times if you have to, because at that age, if you say, hey, or this, they're not hearing.
No,
but if you know their name and you can really engage with them, I found that to be
Either they're not, and I do a lot of stuff in the morning at my, my daycare in Norwalk, Connecticut, Carousel. And my job is a PE teacher.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug.
Shameless, also a great show.
Oh God. Dealing with, and these are like 3 and 4 year olds, so they're really young, obviously. But you're right. I mean, you say the word "hey" over here, they're all coming or nobody's coming. So the name is very big, and your attention to detail. You have to be on everything. You know what I mean? It's like when we coach, we always say when we coach the younger kids, your attention to detail. Okay, when I coach younger guys, I don't have to worry about my first base holding a run around with a guy on second. Yeah. But when you're coaching younger kids, your attention to detail gets more. So working with the younger kids really makes you more, in tune to what you're doing. Coaching the younger kids really makes your attention to detail better. It makes you a better, teacher and coach, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that, and I don't know if you're just that good at it, that you don't need that, but to have a plan. Now, we have a curriculum plan, but still to have a plan within your curriculum of what you're going to do that day, that you're going to sit everybody down, you're going to gain their attention, you're going to show them that you care, you're going to get to know their names, and when they see that you're structured and you're organized, not only do they pay attention and you get more productivity out of them, the parents love watching that, and the whole thing runs so much more smooth, and they have fun.
Yep.
And they stay safe.
They stay safe, right? But it's also too
That's a challenge.
having a plan, but it's also what you do on the fly too, because you can have that plan and then something happens and it's just not going well, or the kids aren't having fun. You know how to make the adjustments in the middle of something to come off of the original plan to make it,
Yeah, and that's another overlap between coaching and teaching. Teaching, you're thinking on the fly so often. I mean, whether there's no internet at the building that day, you have to figure out something else to do because your plans are on the in your email and you can't get to them. You can't get a kid to do a specific thing. You have to think a different way to kind of scaffold them to get them to that certain skill. It's a constant adjustment and
That might be the most difficult thing.
It
You're
is.
teaching baseball, the hardest, hitting the hardest thing there is, and you're teaching these little guys who some of them aren't coordinated at all, aren't athletic at all, and you're trying to figure out how to get them to load and transfer.
Yeah.
And like you said, did you say staging or scaffolding?
Scaffolding.
Got some good words.
That's a teacher word.
Intelligence level.
But yeah, that's not easy. When you're working with that kid to keep him engaged and make it work for him while the others are waiting and keeping them engaged and keeping them active, but you know what? It is tough, but there's also a lot of common sense that goes into it. And when you watch some people do it, you're just amazed that, wow, you can't think that you have to do this right now to keep these kids going and to keep them organized and keep them safe. But it's a challenge, for sure.
So on challenges, do you have this is for anybody, but for Paul, any stories of like really difficult kids, either here or at school, without mentioning any names, but any situations that just kind of pop in your head that were like, you got out of that and you're like, oh, glad that was over.
Yeah, so and again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record today, but it does go back to those individual relationships that you have with the student or the player. If you have a player who's, acting out, or a kid at a clinic who's just not following directions, it's never gonna help to reprimand them in front of everyone else. That's just gonna escalate whatever's going on, or, set them on the track of really not wanting to work with you. So it's something as simple as pulling them aside and be like, hey, look, we're here for a half hour longer. We're gonna do hitting. We're gonna do some more throwing, and I need you to work with the other guys in the clinic because those are your teammates right now. Kind of relating it back to that we're all working on something together to get better, and usually that will help you out a lot.
That's awesome. So even with a kid who you don't, let's say you have a great rapport with 3 of the 4 kids, and that 4th kid you don't have that rapport, he's still bouncing off the wall, kind of remove him, separate from the situation, try to give him a different spin, re-engage back with the whole team. That's
Exactly.
Well, you have to handle that properly because usually at these young ages, the parents are watching.
Yeah.
And most parents, I'm a parent, and most parents don't see the faults in their kids, and they don't see them being troublemakers, and they don't see them not paying attention.
I'm sorry, I just got to cut in right here, because you said as a parent, and my mind just went, I just spent the whole weekend with one of your sons down in Florida at the Perfect Game tournament, and he had a really good tournament for us. He's a phenomenal kid, man. And I played daddy. I don't have any kids, but I played daddy for the weekend, and I was like, yeah. But it was really, I tell you what, I loved every minute I had it with him, and your wife texted me today. She tends to text me a lot. Sorry, Michelle. But,
Strange stuff.
but just saying, she thanked me for allowing me to have Zach tag along. I tagged along with him, but I mean, you guys did a lot of things right because it was a good time with him. But when you said you were a parent, that's where my mind went. Sorry for cutting you off, but I just wanted to throw that in there.
But Zach's unique and pretty grown up for his age, and Michelle deserves all the credit.
Yep.
Michelle,
I am not laughing. You're watching this. I'm not laughing at anything.
I was laughing at your face. I was laughing at your face.
Michelle's not gonna watch this. She gets way too much of me. That's what I'm gonna do. Just sit and watch you. Oh my goodness.
Well, I wasn't saying she was
Maybe you,
gonna watch
again, strange stuff goes on.
But yeah, I think that role of parents is a huge role, right? Of being able to be on the same page with parents. A lot of times where we see, especially with teams or things that aren't, when we're not on the same page with the parent.
Yeah, there's so much coddling going on as we raise our kids, and then, we can't be just coddling these kids, we gotta develop them. We
Or
gotta
the
teach them.
opposite. There are some parents who are like way too hard on their kids and they're all over them, and then they want nothing to do with their kid. The parents or the children want nothing to do with the parents, and it turns them off and it kind of burns them out of baseball. So finding that balance, but I think the connection between the teacher or the coach in this aspect, the player or the student, and then the parent, and that whole thing working together is probably really, really important.
Yeah, definitely. And it all starts with clear, open, honest communication, right? As a coach or a teacher, you're there to do a job, to teach someone how to read, or to teach someone how to do multiplication, or to teach someone how to hit or throw a baseball or pitch, right? And you have to be goal-oriented, and you have to be honest about how you are going to reach that goal and the steps that you're taking to get there, or even explaining the setbacks that you have in getting there.
Yeah.
So,
Do sometimes when you have those honest communications, do the people just not want to hear it?
So, yeah, for sure, because some people don't want to hear, negative things about their kids. Understandable, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
And you got to be honest. Yeah.
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 100%.
There's some of the hardest conversations to have. Nobody wants to deliver bad news or, criticism, whether it's constructive or not, but it has to be done. Otherwise, we're not doing our jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's got to be a value of trust there too. I mean, when we deal with our clients, or the coaches that, the parents of the kids that we coach, there's a bond and a trust there.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to invest money, with somebody, I'm going to trust them that they're going to do the right thing with my money. So like when they come to us for coaching, or they come for us for guidance, like, guys, you're coming to me for a reason. You have to be able to trust me that I know what's best for your kid. I'll involve you. I'm not one of those egotistical maniacs that don't like parents. Some guys lay down the rules. Parents can't talk. No. I'm pretty much laid. I'm probably more laid back than a lot of people should be at times, and that might get me in trouble. But there's a trust factor that I like to think my parents have with me, whether in my clients in the cage or when I'm coaching outside, that you work together and make things happen. And they understand that you're doing the best.
I think I was probably on the other end of that spectrum, especially when dealing with the older kids or coaching high school. You really want to, me personally, want to promote the kids to communicate, and kids communicate, and then I think I kind of did that a little bit. You ostracize the parents a little bit, and finding that balance of making sure the kids are responsible and accountable and they know what's going on, but also looping in the parents so they have an idea of what's going on too, so they're ahead of the situations.
I think it's very valuable.
Yeah.
Very, very valuable.
I'd like to make a statement. I was going to wait until the end, but it just seems like the right time. That we've been doing this for 13 years.
Yeah.
And we've gotten really good at it. BVSA, we're shooting the breeze at Bobby V's. We're good at this. That's a topic for today. But we have a lot of experience, and the people that we hire, Mike and his family come from years and years of experience with dealing with the kids. Somebody like Paul who deals with it. We have a lot of other teachers who are dealing with kids all the time, and we're constantly learning and developing and building our curriculum and training, that Mike's in charge of, training all these new people that come in who are going to be working with all of these kids. And the thing that I interject being the parent is that you have to understand, no matter how out of line that kid gets or unathletic that kid gets, that's my baby, that's my kid, that's the greatest thing that I've ever done in my life. You better treat him well. And we really have gotten good at it through the years and developed our programs and the size of our programs and the curriculums that we've developed into something that's pretty special. So we're pretty good at it.
It's been great.
It's been a fun ride so far, for sure, and a lot of learning along the way in every different situation, for sure.
Yeah, safety comes first. We haven't talked a lot about it. We've hinted to it a few times, but safety's first. You got kids in small areas and bats and balls flying around, and knock on wood, we have a pretty good track record of that. But because we try to focus on it and make it the primary goal of an event to have no walking wounded at the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you think, Virg? How have we done so far today? We covered the topics we need to. Anybody have any other things they really want to say? He's fasting.
He laughed at me.
You're fired, bro. You're fired.
Wait till these next few minutes. I'm just gonna
Can we go eat
I'm
now?
just gonna eat in front of you for the I'm gonna have chicken parmesan. I'm gonna have Cold Stone ice cream, your favorites. I'm gonna have extra something, don't
All right, all right, all right.
know.
Okay, I haven't eaten lunch yet. I need to eat. Frank is making me way too hungry. So that was today's episode of Shooting the Breeze at Bobby V's. Thank you so much, Paul, for coming on, and everybody else. So we talked about, you know, building relationships and how important that is, managing communication, early expectations, building trust with people, and it's something that we do really, really well, but we have to keep working on and keep developing, and you got something to say.
Well, I always end these with saying that if you listen to this in entirety, you need to get a life, but I don't think that today. We really talked about some important things that we do for our kids, and we have some good people, so you should listen today.
Yeah.
So based on that, there's a lot more great content coming out, so please make sure you subscribe below, leave a comment, hit the like button, follow us on all of our social media accounts. We're going to be continuing to release some great content for you guys, and we look forward to seeing you next time at Bobby V's.
See you.